Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott McMeans with yet another edition of the Business Spotlight. I'm with Action Coach SBL, and I'm here with Gene Natale from the Burning River Entertainment Group. And what we're going to talk about today is how Gene got into the business, how he's found success, some of the keys to his success. And we're going to talk about challenges and how he overcame them. So this is going to be a good episode because he's known as the best DJ in Cleveland. So we might as well give him the opportunity to talk about his business. So, Gene, introduce yourself to the audience.
How's it going? My name's Gene Natale. Again, my company's Burning River Entertainment. So I started this company just shy of 10 years ago. I was working full time for another DJ company at the time, and my DJ journey began a number of years before that, DJing on a college radio station, spending time, working for what was at the time CBS Radio, cluster of radio stations here in Cleveland, 98.5 NCX, and being one of them. And never had any inkling or interest of going into business for myself. I just wanted to have, be successful, have a job, make money, be able to pay my rent, pay my bills, not have to worry about it. Very like a lot of people my age, I'm 40 right now, very underemployed during my 20s, which underemployed is kind of a funny thing to say because I mean, there's some years where I may have had as many as 8 or 9 W-2s in a single year, and filling out a tax return that's reporting income of $8,000 or $9,000 for the year, somehow
That's
just
tough.
scraping by. But once I got into DJing, and I had some on-air job on the radio, there started to be opportunities to book my own events. And well, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's cut the umbilical cord. Working for, like I said, a full-time job at a AV and DJ company. Had clawed my way to getting health benefits, all these things that I'd wanted for a long time. And it was a good job, but it wasn't like something that
Mm.
had this great opportunity for advancement. So okay, this is, it felt like this is the time. And I felt like, okay, if I start this business and it fails completely, you know, I'm gonna have gained so much more. I'm even more marketable now from failing at business. But here's the thing, like I didn't fail. And I think, maybe I had a personality that was conducive to the challenges of starting a business. I'm very stubborn, so that probably
Yeah.
helped.
That's a good characteristic to have as a business owner, is being stubborn. That way you are focused on what you need to be focused on, and you don't take no for an answer. So kudos to you for maintaining that stubbornness.
Well,
Gene,
and
I'm
anyone
curious.
who's in sales or marketing knows you take a lot of no's for answers, and if you let them beat you down too much, and I've seen it happen to other people like that. They just couldn't take the no's, and then they just give up.
Yeah, it's the hardest challenge. I think most business owners will tell you that it's not necessarily everything that happens inside the business, which is important to know, but it's the sales and marketing and the strategies that you put in place that really make the business run. And you're right, 80% of the time you're going to hear a no. So what are you going to do about those other 20? And that's the focus that you need to have. I love the idea of, you said you were underemployed for a while. You've had 8 or 9 different W-2s, and then you started your own business. What was it that was the click in your head, or the thing that said, you know what, Gene, now's the time to make that move? What was it that made you transition from being an employee to being your own boss and employing others?
So I'll say there are a few factors that led to that. I found some success as a DJ, as an entertainer, and also as an AV technician. Developed that skill set, and I think as an asset to the company that I worked for. And you know, found that, okay, I do have the ability to book some events on my own. Like the first wedding that I ever booked on my own was for a friend of mine. He was the owner of a semi-pro football team that I played for about 5 years after college. And he was getting married, contacted me. So, I contracted him for it at a price which for me was a ton of money. Because at the time my show pay for I booked this wedding. It was, for I would say compared to modern standards, a modest amount of money that I booked this wedding for, but it was considerably more than I could have ever hoped to make for working in a single event at the company that I was working for at the time. I think I want to say my rate was something like $135 per wedding. And I did mostly weddings as a lead there. And I didn't, because I had never worked for any other DJ company before working for that company, I had no idea just how far below market rate that was for a wedding DJ, even one that's employed by a company. But these weren't things that I would complain about at the time, because it was like, this is a good job, this full-time
Mhm.
job. It was hard to, I had a lot of struggles, as a young adult, trying to make their way in Cleveland. So, and I certainly had much worse jobs than working for a DJ company. Um, so I don't want to sound like, oh, this company I worked for was so awful. I mean, far from it. I mean, I learned a lot. But eventually got to a point, I was not a salesperson for that company. I was not involved with anything like that. And I got to a point where they gave me a choice, and the choice was, you can stay here and work with us, but we need you to sign a non-compete contract. It was a 6-page document that had a lot of very pointed legal language and everything. And I have my father worked in sales for over 40 years, and he's signed contracts like that before. But the thing that was missing from this contract was there was no guarantee of employment after signing it.
Oh, wow.
There was no salary listed in there, nothing in there. And of course, what their verbal assurance is like, well, this is a just in case thing. We're not going to like enforce this unless we have to. And to me, that's kind of like somebody, cocking a loaded gun at your head and saying like, I promise I'm not going to pull the trigger.
Right.
Just, this is just for our protection, just in case. We would just ask for your permission, if you wanted to do this or that or the other thing. Like, we'll never pull the trigger on you. Like, don't worry about it. And so, long story short, they gave me the document. I said, okay, I got to have, an attorney look at this. I had my parents' lawyer look at it, and he says, I'm scared for your son. Like, don't sign that. Oh my God.
That
So
could very well be, Gene, the best business advice you've ever gotten, right?
yeah,
Don't sign that document.
but the nice thing about that is, so you had this contract that was very, very would have been a problematic contract had I signed it, because it would say if I had signed it and parted ways with this company anyway, whether I chose to leave or was fired, that would have prohibited me from working in this industry in 2 years anywhere in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, that's not
So
good.
and I've heard other legal experts say that's not enforceable in a court of law, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm not a millionaire. I can't afford to hire a lawyer and, even a
Right.
frivolous legal battle. So there's something to be said about, something I learned in one of my college courses about chilling words, a chilling effect, I should say. And that's when, someone who has bigger pockets can reduce someone's ability to speak out about someone, or to act against them in some way, because the threat of a lawsuit, even a frivolous one, is too expensive for them to risk. Um, but so despite this contract, unsignable contract in my view, I still had the opportunity to, you know to leave on my own terms from this company. I had a meeting with the owner and they said, you need to sign this contract, or this is the day, like sign, or this is your last day. I said, okay, well, let's shake hands and we'll part ways. And they said, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll welcome you back with open arms. So, that's I'm glad to hear that. And we parted
So,
ways. And
Gene, I'm going to assume you have moved forward and never looked back. Have you done any work with that company before or since then?
cause so this company's one of my competitors now, as you can imagine. Hold on
Yeah.
once. So yeah, so I mean, there's somewhat of a friendly rivalry, I'd say. There
Okay.
was maybe more of a rivalry in the earlier years. It's like, oh, how could he leave us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would say there's several people that still work there that I would say I'm friendly with. We rent equipment from them sometimes. I mean, they rent equipment from us sometimes.
Okay.
So
What is it,
and
Gene,
I
then? I was going to say, what is it that separates you from the competition in Cleveland? I mean, this is an interesting city, especially when it comes to rock and roll, when it comes to music and the entertainment piece. So, what is it that kind of separates what you're doing at Burning River Entertainment to whatever a competitor is doing? Why would somebody want to hire you versus anybody else?
so our website makes a rather pointed claim, as you mentioned. It's bestdjincleveland.com. I say that kind of tongue in cheek, like we're not, trying to be these egomaniacs. There's a lot of DJs that are actual real life egomaniacs. You could probably say that about any business. There's probably somebody in any
Yeah.
industry that's like the known egomaniac. But it's a goal, not a destination for us. It's best DJ in Cleveland, meaning like, we want to get that, as good of SEO or search engine optimization as we can. If people are looking for who's the best DJ in Cleveland, our name pops up. But so there's a little bit of just, it's just sales stuff, but it's also, we want to be, we ought to be, and we want to be striving to provide the best possible experience for all of our clients, where people are going to a wedding and leaving at the end of the night saying, who is that DJ? Oh my gosh, like I've never seen a better DJ in my life. That was incredible. As
Love
opposed to
it.
just like a company that's focusing on volume and like, okay, well, we have the best salespeople, so we can sell 50 weddings, this month, and say we'll have like 10 weddings, 20 weddings every weekend. And how many DJs do we have? Well, we have almost enough to do all those. We'll find a few along the way, and we'll figure it out. And it's like, where is your quality control with these events that you're like piecemealing together? To me, a life event, like a wedding or a bar mitzvah or a quinceañera or what have you. I mean, you do it once, ideally. Um, and so it's not like, oh, okay, well, you know, if it's like McDonald's, oh, sorry, we didn't make your burger, well, sir, we'll make you another one, no problem. You
Right.
don't make someone another wedding. You're done.
That's a very good point. It's a very good
And
point.
you can
So,
say, from a business standpoint, like, oh, well, it didn't go so well, so we'll negate getting the bad review by making sure we give them a lot of money back, or we'll do something else for them free or whatever. But okay, you can get all that stuff back, but again, you're not doing the wedding over, so that is
right.
gone forever.
Yeah, you've got one time to make the impression, and that sounds like what you and the team there do better than most is you give them the experience they've asked for. You give them the experience. I love the idea of somebody walking away saying, "Who in the hell was that? What a great night that DJ put on a phenomenal
Yeah.
show. This is a memorable event as opposed to a run-of-the-mill event." I want to go back or ask you about the number of people you got on your team and how many different DJ crews you have running, because you made a really good point about, somebody will schedule a number of weddings or events throughout the course of a month and not be able to feed all those events because they don't have the personnel. How is it as far
Yeah.
as the environment uh, at Burning River? What do you guys do? How many different crews do you have? How do you arrange yourselves so you do have that ultimate customer experience?
Yeah, so I mean, the capacity is, it doesn't matter the size of the company or the capacity, you're always going to have a capacity limit. Uh,
Okay.
and I've heard companies say like, well, we have no limit. Like, well, you do though.
Yeah.
I mean, you only have so many people. Like you could say, okay, I have 50 DJs. I could do 50 events on a Saturday, but if you book 51, you're like, we'll say, well, I know DJs in New Jersey that can come out and do it. Like, well, but they're not in Cleveland. So
Yeah.
you've maybe that's a secondary, maybe you're defining that as a secondary capacity, but like you've exceeded your capacity. Um, so uh what I define the capacity is, not just how many DJs I can find, because I could find DJs. I could walk into any dive bar in Ohio and find a DJ, technically, but they need to be up to what I consider to be a good DJ. Um, one that I'm going to be proud sending out and, expecting nothing but like the absolute most glowing comments and feedback from.
Is there a
Um,
criteria that you have that is quantifiable and something you articulate with every one of your customers? Like what is your definition of a good or a best DJ in Cleveland?
so the way that we conduct ourselves on events, you know, we want to be leading the event. We want to be like I work with our clients and we put together an agenda for the day. Sometimes this agenda is co-written by some of the other vendors we're working with. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's just all on us. And
Hmm.
we need to be collaborative with the other vendors that we're working with, meaning the caterer, the planner, the photographer, um, everything like that. And I'm using weddings as an example, but obviously we do a number of other, all sorts of different event types.
Sure.
I mean, I was requested for a fundraiser for my alma mater, my high school in Erie, this past weekend. So that was a big event where they're trying to raise, $500,000 for the
Oh, wow.
school's uh, coffers. Um, and that's an event where like we, as a DJ, we have a smaller role, so we're not like running the show as much. I mean, they have, their headmasters emceeing it. So we also need to know like when we need to take charge, when to step back, and reading the room and reading the situation and being able to adapt to a variety of different situations. We do a lot of multicultural events. We work with clients that are American, that are Irish, that are Israeli, that are Persian, that are you know there was one of my favorite weddings we did was a Nigerian wedding, where like 99% of the music was Nigerian music. And, you know, most DJs don't have that stuff, but so we have to do a little extra work. We got to research it.
Sure.
We got to look it up. We got to download whatever we got to do before the event. The preparation that we're doing before the event, like we're not walking in and just saying, oh, if I don't have it, we'll just play it off of Spotify, or if the internet connection goes out, you know. So no, we don't stream things. We get it, ahead of time.
That's
um
awesome.
so I mean obviously, I could go on and on about, the things that we do, the things that make us uh set us. Sometimes it's hard for me to describe. I just know it when I see it.
Sure.
And I know a lot of other DJ companies um that do a good job, that just, some charge less than us, some charge more than us, and I know that what they're doing is just very different from what we're doing. I mean, sometimes it could be something as simple as knowing how to mix and blend two songs together versus just playing two songs and not having any kind of a transition, like having a smooth flow from song to song. And there's plenty of DJs that business wise are very successful. They're very good at selling what they do, but they're not selling a top tier product. And that's why you have some DJs that are, they consider themselves to be more artistic or more like a club DJ, look down on someone that DJs a wedding. They say, oh, that's not a real DJ. Because some of these guys, I mean, they're good guys. They have good personalities, and that's why they're successful. But just technically, they're not very proficient with
So it
everything.
sounds,
So
this is a lot more than just pressing play on an iPad, right?
yeah,
You said it, the talent and understanding how to flow from one song to the next, your preparation, understanding what your customer wants from a cultural perspective, having the ability to adapt, read the room. And what I thought was one of the most profound things you said is leading the event and having an agenda written by yourselves and or with the client. So it's a
yeah,
cohesive event that everybody knows this is the flow expectation. And then we, as Burning River, you have this amazing talent to make the event flow the way it should because of the music, the vibe, whatever you're trying to produce
yeah.
within that setting. It fits what people are asking for. And that I
Yeah, we
think,
need to be well-rounded. We
yeah,
can't just be like, really good, just good personality or just good technically proficiently. We need for someone to be one of my leads on an event. And we have our role players too, of course. But we need to have that person that can be well-rounded.
yeah,
Um,
that's big. I think look, the main question I asked was what separates you from your competition? And you've done a really nice job of articulating and laying out. You're just not your typical company that has a DJ come out, turn on a turntable or turn on a iPad and say, "Okay, we're good to go."
yeah,
There's a lot more to it. And what I'm interested in learning about, and again, I asked you before how many different teams you have, and
yeah,
then how is it that you handle or manage all those different teams? So do you have a list or a roster of guys that you use every day, or is there people that are within
yeah.
your company that are on your roster? How's that work for you?
Yeah, so we have I tell people our capacity for like our large scale social events for a given Saturday is 5 on a given day. And
Okay.
to put that in terms like for our industry, I would say the majority of the DJs that you're going to look up are either one guy who's he's the DJ and his wife he calls the planner and they store all their gear in their garage and it's a side gig. And some of those guys are very, very good at what they do, but they're very extremely specialized. And you couldn't really call them like businesses in the same sense, and certainly not in the action coach definition of what a business is. And then you have a small handful of companies that do multiple events, and even smaller handful that have like full-time employees and everything like that. I mean, there's some of them that do multiple events and everyone's a contractor, and it's just they're hoping that everyone's gonna do what the boss says, but you can't really legally bind them when they're contractors to every single thing.
It's a whole nother business issue, right? Is having contractors versus employees, which I would assume is a challenge that you like to maintain your employees versus having contractors. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we've like we started out with a lot of our people as contractors, and we've been transitioning to having people as employees. But part of you know the process of that is you can't just say, okay, you're an employee now, without having policies and procedures in place.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because what's your criteria if someone's not abiding by the rules, if there are no rules that they signed?
that
Um,
makes it tough, right?
so I learned
And
that the hard way with
I was gonna say,
like a
I
lot of
think
business
you,
owners do.
well, your non-compete meeting is probably the tone that was set in your brain that now you move forward with to say, I'm not going to run my business like that. I'm going to run my business with people that want to be here and people that want to
Yeah,
contribute. So when I'm meeting you, when Gene is looking at how to actually articulate a message to the team, it's easier for you to do because you've been on the other side where you don't like how you were treated. And I
Oh,
think
yeah,
most people,
that's an astute
right?
observation. That definitely colored a lot of my interactions with people that were
Yeah.
working for me, especially in the earlier years.
Well, it's interesting. Most business owners that I get a chance to talk to, whether it's on the podcast or just straight up having conversation, they've all had something that stuck in their craw from an experience they had working for somebody else. And that was their adamant moment of, I'm never going to be that guy, or I'm never going to be that
Yeah,
person that makes people go through what I went through. So this is how I run my business. And it's interesting. Everybody has different stories, but it all comes down to, and you already nailed it, if there's no rules, everybody's in chaos. But if you have rules, people know where they're supposed to work, they know what boundaries they have, and they know what exactly the direction is moving forward. So it's really cool to see you kind of go through this chaotic experience in your 20s and figure out that you don't want to work for somebody else, start your own business, and now your clarity is, this is how we run things here. And if you want to be a part of it, great. Come on board. We're a great organization. I'll treat you well, but you have to meet our standards first. So let's get the right people on board and then make sure they
yeah, and
follow the rules and guidelines.
some of the people and lead DJs that have been, the biggest players, the biggest contributors to my company are some of the ones that don't require as much policing too. Like
Yeah.
I know that they're going to be able to handle themselves without, being supervised. I mean, one of my lead DJs in particular, he gets really annoyed when people are micromanaging him too much. So and
Don't do
he'll tell
that.
me, like, if you work with some planner that was just because sometimes you see somebody, when if you're like the wedding coordinator, like, oh, I gotta do my job and tell him to do his job, but like maybe he already knows his job.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let him do his job. Autonomy is not a 4-letter word. Let people do their job that they were hired to do and give them the authority to do it correctly. I hate to do this to you, Gene. We are up against the time clock because these are
Yeah.
very regimented things. One last question. You've got 2 minutes. I'm going to let you go with this. If you were to sit down on a bench next to the 18-year-old Gene, what would you say to yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I would probably tell myself to kind of, really try to focus and have a plan for what I'm going to do. I mean, there's a few ways I can answer that. I mean, one way I can answer that is would start a DJ business today, because I mean, if I started a DJ business when I was 18, uh, you know, in theory, I could be much more
So,
successful than I am now. But then again, I started a DJ business when I was 30, having gained all the knowledge I gained from my 20s, struggling, you know, working places, getting fired from I got fired once from a job where my job was to give out 5-hour energy to people. So, but you learn, but the point is you learn something from all these experiences. And like they
100%.
say, the secret, your past is perfect. You can't change your past. Your past created your present, and your present can create your future. So, you
I like
know,
that a lot. Yeah, your past created this right now and is going to determine what your future is going to be. That's awesome. That's a
yeah.
great way to leave the conversation. Gene, this has been great. I really appreciate walking us down your pathway, walking us through what you do at making yourself so much different than everybody else. And I think people are going to buy into it and understand that you provide a value that's worth the money that they spend. Because one of the things I think you said is people charge more than we do, people charge less than what we do. But what people are getting is the ultimate customer experience when they use you and Burning River. So I appreciate you spending time with us.